So, the thing that you just said um, was that the power of the contact, which we talked about last time. You're now saying that we get attached to it, but do so perhaps subconsciously.
Yep.
Okay. So take it from there.
So we get attached to it, often without realizing, and it makes us behave in certain ways. And the reason we do that behavior is because we're looking for a way to kind of process that power that comes behind the contact. It's our
Hmm.
way of sort of alleviating it because it's not really comfortable.
That's an interesting way to put it. So, in that resolve that you just mentioned, that in fact all three of these feelings, both the I like it, I don't like it, and I'm not sure, all of them bring a discomfortable feeling, an uncomfortable outcome.
Yeah, as opposed to when you're just settled down and you're just kind of like cool, I suppose.
Okay. Well, you're on to something there that, in fact, we could go so far as to say that if that little tick, that little drive keeps happening on a regular basis, we now can call it something like anxiety.
Yes.
All right. And another way of looking at it, then, you could say that if, in fact, it's like a recurring thought, you could say that perhaps the thought is subconscious kind of thinking, but it does have chemical basis in the brain
Mm-hmm.
and in the glandular system, which brings on almost as if every time the thought comes or every time the subconscious thought comes is like just a leak or just a little drip of adrenaline,
Mm-hmm.
so that over time it begins to build up
Yep.
and we're not aware of it. So, this is a kind of a natural process that will happen that is also why we don't quite know what was the real cause of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, recognizing that, oh, the real cause of it was a leaky brain faucet. And that if we would close that tap, then those anxieties and fears or frustrations or yeah, frustrations is a good way of saying it in the sense that we keep trying something and it doesn't work. So we
Yep.
try it like that and it doesn't work. So we try it this way and it doesn't work. And so we try it this way and it doesn't work. And we now we don't know what to do
Yep.
to get it to work. And the answer in that case is look at what you're doing in the sense
Yeah.
that we want it to work. Look at why you're in this state of frustration.
Yep.
So again, is look at what you're doing because the first time they say look at what you're doing, he says don't keep doing that. You got to do this over here and that too and this and but no, really, that's just doing the same thing from a different direction.
Exactly.
Ah, so that same approach then can be had with this internal concept of the anxiety in the sense that we kind of push it and plot it from various directions, but we don't recognize that this is a bodily condition that actually can be dealt with once we know it's there,
Mm-hmm.
and that it probably got there from a whole lot of stuff that we've got on our mind. Um, and so getting any of that stuff out of the mind then will basically kind of turn that leaky faucet out. That in fact you might remember this. We've already started it because I've got a good example of that, and that is webcam.
Webcam.
Remember we talked about webcam.
I don't think we did. Did
Okay,
we?
never mind. Here's this point in a nutshell, and that is that the new computer came without a
Yes.
webcam.
Yes. I remember.
And okay, and so blah de blah de blah on it goes after buying three cameras in a row that don't work correctly. I'm still on the old machine. All right, so anytime there's any thought of webcam or any such thoughts like that, is out. I
Mhm.
don't want to think about it,
Mhm.
Because if I think, in fact, I even told you about that I picked that up
Yep.
when we went shopping and refused to get the webcam. This is a long old story. Guess what? Free. Yeah, we have to beware that we have to throw that stuff out.
Yep.
The whole scenario. All right. And so that's how it is.
Yeah.
And so we can be free from it. But we have to be on guard. Then, once we put on our very short list, hopefully it's a short list. But there's some old items that have been on that short list for many years. One of them
Yep.
would be, for instance, USA. Anything that has to do with the United States is off limits, out. No, none. No politicians, no preachers, no politics, no infrastructure, nothing.
Mhm.
Only occasionally, like 3 to 5 minutes a year, do I have to do anything. Other than that, it's out of sight, out of mind.
It's a good way of doing it.
Right. Because the only thing that it can do is cause misery.
Yep.
The other one way of looking at it is then anything can be addressed like that. That we can actually start to qualify what hindrances am I most likely to come into next. Which ones are likely to pop up? The ones that just did.
Yeah.
So you say, all right, I'm going to be on guard for that one. Okay. No more webcams. No
Mhm.
more Trump. And a lot of people need to do that one.
Yep. That's so true.
It is so true. No more Trump. Not today, not tomorrow. And so get it out of the mind because it's all painful
Yeah.
to have all of this turmoil. So that's the first thing, by the way, when we talked was when I said, "How's it going?" You said a lot.
Yep.
Okay, I bet it's not a lot. I bet it's a few things that are recurring.
Yeah. It's just it's a few things which don't even seem too bad on the surface that are just there all the time, that are recurring all the time, that need to
Not
be
all the
constantly
time.
worked on.
Perhaps now, though, you can say, "I'm catching them.
Oh
I
yeah.
catch them often."
Oh yeah.
That's the way to say it.
Yep.
Because again, they're recurring, they're not stuck there.
Oh yeah. They are
Uh,
getting caught. Yep.
I just had a student talk about this that these thoughts get stuck. No, they cannot and do not. There's nothing for a thought to hang on to or to get stuck.
Mm.
It arises and then it passes away. And if you see it when it goes, you can kick it in the butt on the way out.
Yep.
All right. And so, but they do come back at a later time, and that the whole mentality of them being stuck there has to do with the ignorance of not seeing the absence between the time of after it was kicked out and the time that it reoccurred. So you
Mm.
think that that whole time could have been 5 minutes. 5 minutes you were free from that. But when it recurs, you think it's stuck there.
Yep.
According to one way of speaking about it. So thoughts don't get stuck. And if they had something to cling to, obviously the only hook the mind has is the me,
Mm-hmm.
the self.
Yep.
And but when we're awake and we can throw that stuff out, it doesn't get stuck. It's not like we keep kicking it until it's down and then kicking it out. No, we just kick it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always a self that sets the frame of reference for
Mm,
that stuff. It's always related to the self on some level, because if it's not, we don't really care about it.
don't care. And so the less stuff there is related to the self, the less a whole lot of it there is.
Yep.
That you can, in fact, see the turmoil more clearly because you're not afraid of any of that turmoil happening that you've already thought could happen in your own mind. So you're become afraid of that turmoil out there. What could it possibly turmoil me into? And the
Mm-hmm.
answer is I'm just watching. I'm an observer
Mm-hmm.
here. And so, um, in that regard, there's nothing about that turmoil that's dangerous. We've just been dreaming that it was dangerous based upon the fact that when we were children, we were taught that things were dangerous.
Yep.
And so we actually feel the need to go do something in order to clear up this feeling of danger inside. And so, really, that's what anxiety is a feeling that things are not right, they need to be fixed.
Yep.
I'm unsafe here, catastrophe. Um, I think in the old days, in black and white TV days, there was a Lost in Space um, series.
Mm-hmm.
And in there, they had a robot, a 1960s Hollywood version of a robot, and that the primary thing that people remember was that robot rolling onto the set saying, "Danger, danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger."